Good evening. Since APD set up a tip line to solve the West Mesa serial killings, it has gotten thousands and thousands of calls, but we've learned a lot of people are using that tip line to get people they don't like in trouble. Alex Tomlin is live in the Newsplex with the latest.
Dean, I asked about the tips coming in after a viewer messaged me saying he believes his brother was involved in the state's biggest mass grave site. Come to find out, a lot of people think a family member, neighbor, or boss could be the West Mesa serial killer.
Thousands of these kind of calls.
Deputy Chief Paul Feist has spent more than 1,000 days and nights trying to find the West Mesa serial killer since the first bones were found in early 2009. And he's seen the tips roll in from all over the world about who killed the 11 women, all who had ties to drugs and prostitution, and buried them on the Mesa. While some are helpful, many are.
My brother, my ex-husband, boyfriend, or whatever, I think is involved. Most often it was because they exhibited behavior towards the individual calling, but other times they may say, well, I heard this person mentioning things.
Feist says they often hear about the strange activities of neighbors or bosses.
Every one of those cases were investigated.
Even tips that aren't really tips at all.
There's been folks that called and said my ex-boss or other folks like that that are involved. And I think some of them could be out of spite or some of them could be for another reason.
He says those take up time that could be spent working a real tip.
That really does a disservice to all the victims out on 118th Street.
DC Feist says they've also had a number of inmates looking to cut deals.
We had people call from prison in other states saying, I have information on this or I was involved in this. Fly me to New Mexico, bring me home or whatever, and I'll give you all the information you need.
Investigators have traveled all over checking out stories. And he says sometimes the tips about someone being creepy are true, but there isn't enough to link them to any crime.
We'll keep an eye on the creeps best we can if we have a reason.
There have been some tips that ended up helping police solve other crimes. We'll have that part of the story tomorrow night at 10. Dean?
All right, Alex, thank you. APD still wants those calls. They say it may be a family member, a friend, or an acquaintance of the killer that ends up cracking the West Mesa mystery. And there is still a $100,000 reward for info that helps police do just that.